Hi. So, Yann LeCun, a popular AI pioneer, said AGI is BS. And today we want to talk about that. He said that in a podcast recently, and I'll put in the link to the podcast in the description and the link to the short video that I saw on Twitter. I've gone through the video on Twitter and also on YouTube and the full podcast, and it was very insightful, and I felt I should discuss it here. So, who is who is he, and on what ground, what authority can he speak about AI and AGI? So I'll just do a little introduction. He's a French uh, computer scientist, the former chief research scientist at Meta, former Facebook, and he left Meta because Meta wanted to make their AI more consumer focused, more customer focused. They wanted to make it a product, and he felt it should be more of a research. He still wanted to do more research work, so he left to create AMI, where he's doing more research work. So he's the CEO of AMI and chief research scientist there. So his work, his work in convolutional neural network in AI was groundbreaking and laid the foundation for AI that we see, especially in image generation. Well, he's a very brilliant scientist and someone with such experience, because he's been in the field for a very long time. With such experience, he's saying AGI is BS. We know what BS means. I'm just trying to keep it. I'm trying to keep it age range. I mean, allowing just like different range of age groups to be able to learn from this too. So, for someone with such authority to say AGI is BS, on what grounds is he saying that? And that is exactly what we want to talk about in this video. So, if you listen to the podcast, what he said is what we are essentially doing with AI right now is repurposing, not repurposing, redesignating human intelligence onto algorithms, onto machine learning systems. So we are essentially kind of rebuilding our neural structure basically, and trying to see how we can build an algorithm out of it to create a neural network. Now, what he's saying is that system is not sufficient for us to say we can build an AGI, and I would explain why. I would explain why. I would go into very deep details much more later in the video. Now he's saying AGI, which means an AI system, or an AI rather, that can function in any domain. So let me explain what we mean by domain and all these things. So now, for example, I'll use what he said to give an example, because I'm thinking on the spot, so that's why I'm having to break a little bit as I'm talking. So he said, we think we have general intelligence, right? And we are modeling AI systems to reflect our intelligence that we think is general intelligence. But at the end of the day, it's actually specialized intelligence, not general intelligence. And his proof to back this was that our ability to walk, let's say that's some sort of intelligence, our ability to speak, our ability to interact with different people, all those are forms of intelligence. Those are different domains of intelligence. You know, we actually evolved by natural selection and evolution and all of that to be able to function in those domains. And they're actually very specialized domains, you know. And also, most domains, according to him, that we think we can function in and thrive in, be intelligent in, are actually very little, right? So there's a cap on it. Basically, it's restricted. You know, there are domains that we think we are good at, and it's only because we can think of those domains. That's why we think we are good at those domains. So he's saying there are domains outside of the box, right? The box of what we think we are good at and what we currently are good at. So he's saying there are domains outside of that box, and like, for example, so that we can all understand it. One good example would be multidimensional spatial reasoning. So we exist in the third dimension, right? So length, breadth, and height, right? So we exist in a 3D. But imagine an alien that exists in a 5D or 4D and can understand our own lower dimension and all of that. We cannot bring ourselves to measure in that domain. Like, we don't even exist in that domain at all. So how can we say we have general intelligence as human beings? And how can we say we have general intelligence as human beings when we cannot function in particular domains that we've not even thought of? And this is an example of one we can think of, right? So there's a quadrant. There's domains that we have thought of and we are good at. And there are domains that we have thought of and we are not good at. And that's an example. Multidimensional spatial reasoning. And there are domains that we've not even thought of and we are not good at. That's, blindsided, and we can't even think about that. So if we are modeling AIs to reflect our style of thinking and the way we think, how is the AI now going to function in another domain? Now, I'd like to chip in that the ability of a subject, the subject in this case can be a person or a machine. Now, the ability of a subject to function in a domain requires particular makeup, right? So, for example, we can't function in a domain like a bat, right? So a bat functions with echolocation, and that's a strange domain. So a bat can can get spatial information, which is environment, can try to know its environment by making sounds and trying to get distance from the reverb or the bounce back of the sound. Now, we can't function in that because we are not built for that. So the ability of a subject to function in a domain is determined by the makeup of that system. Now, where I would challenge what he said a little bit here is AI systems are not AI systems don't have the same makeup as human beings, and they might be able to function beyond the quadrants of our limitations as human beings. That's one thing I would like to just add. I think it's opposed to what he said, but what he said, I agree with him to the extent that the kind of AI we are building right now is not AGI and cannot lead us to AGI. What we are building right now the best it can lead us to is human intelligence. That's the best it can lead us to. Now, for us to get to AGI, right, I believe the AI might be able to now, if we allow the AI to build itself and continue to find new ways to train and new ways to, it might be able to build itself up to a point where it's discovering new things and having to create, a new system that might be AGI. So maybe AI can lead us to AGI, but what we're building right now is definitely the peak of it is human intelligence, and I think that's where I agree with him. That's like the peak of it. So from there, the robots or the AIs can try to expand. Sorry about that. They can try to build on that and go to AGI. And another thing about him is that he does not believe that the current LLM that we are building as the bedrock for AI, is the way to go. So what he believes in is world model. So what that means is, instead of us just having a super complex, huge word prediction algorithm, he's saying let's have a machine learning system where the machine, or let's call it the machine here, or the algorithm or the AI. I'm using all these words interchangeably. I'm not sure I'm supposed to. I'm just trying to really simplify it here. So it builds a world. So when it's trying to solve a problem, right? Okay, let me just divert so I clarify something. What he's saying is LLMs cannot understand physics and cannot learn on the job, right? So all it does is regurgitates. So what he's saying is, for us to get to human intelligence, right, what we're going to have to do is allow the system to create a world, a simulation in its head. So when the robot sees this room, for example, it's going to try to recreate the room in its head and try to predict different outcomes for a particular scenario. So for example, we want the robot to carry the table from this point to this point. The robot is going to try to make different scenarios of doing it in its head, right? Then try to predict the outcome. Now, because the robot has been trained in physics and all of that, and we're exposing it to a new world, it's going to try to recreate different scenarios and different physics outcomes and see which is the best. Now pick the best and now try to execute it and learn from that and continue to build. So he is championing that joint embedded system, joint embedded neural network system, to to help robots and AI come to human level of intelligence so that they can interact in our three-dimension world. And his own belief is actually contrary to many other scientists who believe LLMs are truly intelligent and with more processing power and more compute and more data. LLMs can take us to human intelligence. So it's still a debate in the community. But he is saying, man, AGI doesn't make sense. Like, it doesn't even make sense um, because we are building something that looks like us, and we are not even general intelligence in true sense of it. We're just human intelligence, and we don't have all the domain in our sphere. There are domains outside. And I would like to also add to what he said by also saying that if AIs become actual general intelligence, there's no way we would even be able to test it, because the domains are outside of our knowledge sphere. So the only way we might be able to test it is allow some sort of output, put some sort of output or results that we can test, and that can also be falsified. So at the end of the day, if you're going to domains that we are not knowledgeable about and all of that, and we cannot even test, then who is the knowledge for at the end of the day? And you can argue that probably him saying BS, calling the whole thing BS is probably it. But there needs to be different perspective to the conversation, and I'm happy that he's coming with a different perspective and we're having different perspective, and all of that is important to creating the to creating the technology that we need, and the innovation. So yeah, that's it from me today. Thank you. I hope that I was able to explain the whole concept very well. And thank you. Please subscribe, like the video. See you in the next one. Thank you.